Welcome into the Atlanta Sports Party, your home for the best Atlanta sports talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I am your host, Tenitra Batiste, and joining me are Jarvis Davis and Maria Martin. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. And of course, our Atlanta Sports Party is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So he's official. Now what? And did stock rise or fall in Athens Wednesday? We'll talk about it. But first, let's talk about the return of the champ and about the departure of another champ. You know, Jarvis, Hawks fans just cannot catch a break this season. We saw in the Sunday game against the Pelicans that Saddiq Bey went down in the third quarter, and initially no one knew what it was. It was reported as a hyperextended knee at that time, but because of the way it even appeared, we feared the worst, and we got the worst news confirmed that he indeed tore his ACL, and Saddiq will be out for the rest of the season. This Hawks team was already depleted because of injury, but particularly Jarvis, the front line seems to have taken hit after hit after hit. How big is it for the Hawks to lose yet another guy who was so good that he'd worked his way up into the starting lineup and had been solid at both ends of the court for this Hawks team as far as giving them some perimeter offense, but also giving them some solid wing defense?
You know what, T? This is the thing. This is just how this season has gone, right? And when you think about, I know I joked about winding things down. Like, this really means they need to start winding things down, because when you think about Trae Young going down, Jalen Johnson going down, Oyeka Kongu going down, even the light that I talked about, this little light of mine, Kobe Buffett. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just showing promise, and then he gets hurt. He got the big old toe, from Harlem Nights. He got his big toe shot off, whatever. But I think that one of the things that it just puts it all in perspective, right? Like what Quinn Snyder has had to deal with this year, with guys being out of the lineup for long periods of time throughout the season. This is just how things have gone, and it just truly sucks for it to happen to a guy like Saddiq Bey, because he's going to be a restricted free agent this year, and you got to start thinking about, okay, he earned a nice check, and you got to figure or start thinking to yourself, is this the move, or this type of instance is going to be something that kind of hamstrings that, or kind of restricts that some.
Yeah. And Maria, it made me think, and not to take us all the way back because we still want to move forward, but every time something like this happens, it's very difficult not to go back to the trade deadline. It is very difficult not to go back to not just last offseason, but the last couple of off seasons to say to yourself, Hawks, is this going to be a situation, and you hate for it to come to something this dramatic, but is this going to be the situation that finally tells Landry Fields and company, you got to make aggressive and assertive moves for this lineup for this upcoming offseason and this upcoming draft?
I mean, I would like to say yes, but history tells us that it doesn't, right?
You're right.
Exactly. So I also think that there's way too many injuries this season to not relook and reevaluate. And injuries happen every NBA season. It's a long year. But I think this year in particular, and the timing of each of them, it was down the stretch of the season when things were counting and the Hawks were pushing and trying to stay in that play-in spot and in the middle of the East. So I think with the timing of everything, you do have to reevaluate. Saddiq Bey just came at a horrific time. Jarvis mentioned it. He's going to be a restricted free agent this summer, probably the last time we see him in a Hawks uniform. But they do need to reevaluate because the depth of this team has hurt them, especially in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree. And Maria, you make a great point. This might be the first time in all of those seasons since that, everyone loves to talk back to the 2021 run, but I even take it back a couple years before that, where we saw some, shades of, I don't want to say excellence, but we saw some shades of opportunity. We'll say it that way, because even last season, there was an opportunity to maybe host that playing game, or maybe sneak into the year before that, maybe even sneak into the playoffs and get around the play-in round altogether. This season, no, that's it. You're ensconced in that 10th seed spot almost no matter what you do. I mean, you hope not to get out of it, but that's probably the best you're going to do. So it kind of forces your hand, hopefully forces the Hawks' hands to say, hey, we're just middling. Like we're barely even middling. So it really is time to make something happen. Now, a team that's never middling, that's always exciting. And every time we have an opportunity to talk about what they can do to be even better, but they understand the assignment, Maria, it's the Braves. And so even when we got the word that Ronald Acuna Jr. was like, this meniscus, something is not going. And, you hear from the Braves. I love it. They always say with an abundance of caution, and we can respect that. So he goes and I think it was LA, and he gets everything looked at. And it's like, hey, there's nothing major there, which is excellent to hear. But even more exciting maybe and encouraging for Braves fans is that he's returned to the Braves lineup today.
Yeah, I mean, even the day after he went out to LA, he returned to Florida and was taking batting practice.
Yep.
And he was saying, put me back in. I can play. And the direct quote was, I can play like a boss. So he felt good right away, which is good. That obviously should make Braves fans very excited because I think I've said it before, you never want to be without the reigning NL MVP. And Ronald's going to have another type of campaign like that again this year. And he just brings a different level and element. I don't know if you guys have seen this viral video of Dansby Swanson and Mookie Betts kind of chatting on a stage. And he was talking about Ronald Acuna Jr. and the way that Dansby was talking about him, I want everyone to listen to because it brought him into a new light. And he talked about the difference maker that he is, and not just pure baseball, but the knowledge that he brings to the game, which I thought no one had really brought up before. His teammates haven't really talked about how much they actually learn from Ronald. And so that just further proves my point. You want a guy like that around, just take the baseball out of it. He's going to put up crazy numbers every year, but he's a better teammate than people realize because he's not as vocal. So having a guy like his former teammate, Dansby Swanson, speak out on his behalf, I thought was really important. And it just means everyone should be even more excited that he's back because his presence just brings a different energy.
It really does. And Jarvis, I've been doing, of course, for Locked On, getting ready for our MLB previews where we go around the entirety of the league. And granted, you hear the excitement / fear of God, by the way, from the National League in terms of literally but here's the thing I love. It was the fear of God was twofold. The fear of God was, oh my God, Ronald Acuna Jr. doesn't have a major injury. Oh my God, Ronald Acuna Jr. doesn't have a major injury. And so the fear was, hey, he's going to be back, like Maria said, with a vengeance, with the numbers, but also there was a reverence because they realized the game needs him. So you want Ronald Acuna Jr. at his level best because, for example, if you're the Dodgers and you've gone out and spent all that money, or you're the Phillies and you know that you're kind of living rent-free in their heads a little bit right now, you want the best player in the National League, if not all of Major League Baseball, to be on that field every single time you go out and take on these Braves.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm so excited. I'm talking about 50-50 excited. That's where I'm at with it. I was like, let's go get it. Like, I love the way Ronald Acuna plays the game. I think nephew is setting his sights on some big things this year. And not only in the regular season, but in the postseason too, because he didn't like how things ended last year to the tune of not speaking to the media. And he, of course, he went out and came out and apologized for that. But I think he has something bigger on his mind. I think he wants to be on the field and celebrating or hitting the game-winning home run like, Jorge Soler was. Like, that will forever – that home run will be forever embedded in our minds, like, for sure. And I think he wants to be able to establish himself in that light in the postseason. And I think this is the year for that, for sure.
And I love to always talk about basketball IQ, but man, there's nothing like baseball IQ that we're starting to see evolve and see the maturation of Ronald Acuna Jr. on so many levels. And I absolutely love it that now we have another Brave who's going to give us some sound bites because he does not play. He's going to hit you with the 4 or 5 words. He's going to explain himself and he's going to keep pushing and show and prove. But 2 guys, Jarvis, who are trying to show and prove in spring training and are dueling it out to the bitter end are Reynaldo Lopez and Bryce Elder, of course, both of whom pitched for the Braves this week because they want that final spot in the rotation. And I love to see it because, again, that's one of the areas, I'll say the pitching staff overall, where you absolutely want to see them get it done and kind of get back to form, if you will. And I think they were another group that, my goodness, towards the end of the season, we were like, who else will go down? That was a tough thing. That was very, very tough for the Braves in the waning moments of last season. I think it's actually very good. That actually brings up the level of expectation and also brings up the level of competition that these guys are vying for that final spot. Do you see, however, as we kind of wind down spring training, that one of them is kind of nudging ahead?
I think it's Reynaldo Lopez because
Yeah.
competition breeds excellence, to your point. But I think, like, when you think about the couple outings that Reynaldo Lopez has been on the diamond, and the amount of money that he was paid to bring here, 3 years, $30 million, that's not chump change. So I think, best case scenario, Reynaldo Lopez wins this battle between he and Bryce Elder. And I think that's probably what Alex Anthopoulos' intentions were for him to come in and establish himself as the fifth-year starter. And he's starting to show that already.
Yeah. And how about you, Maria?
Yeah, I think it's Reynaldo Lopez, but I think it's only by a slim margin. And that's because both of them have had issues in their starts in spring training. And obviously Bryce Elder is younger. And I think that Bryce could benefit from some more time in AAA because you saw the beginning of his year last year. He had an all-star caliber first half of the season. And then everyone looks at the second half of the season. And as we've discussed before, I think it was the workload Bryce wasn't used to. Well, you saw the first half, it's there. It's just a matter of keeping it consistent for Bryce. And that hasn't been the case yet in spring training. And Reynaldo Lopez has had more ups than downs in spring training. That's the only reason why I think that he edges Bryce out, only by a slight margin, because Bryce has had a little bit more trouble in his outings. But I do think his stuff is there. I think he can be a starter in the future. I just don't think it's going to be March 28th when they open the season.
Well, there's a starter in Flowery Branch, and Kirko speaks, and we're going to speak about it on the other side. This episode of our Atlanta Sports Party is brought to you by FanDuel. Say bye-bye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament, whether you're betting on a big upset, which invariably is going to happen, or a one seed, which will probably go down too. It's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. And good luck with that, because right now you're thinking, is it UConn? Is it Purdue? Is it Houston? Or is it some dark horse coming out of one of the 4 regions? We're going to find out soon enough. But in the meantime, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. We'll find out Sunday who's actually official on going dancing. But once that happens, don't forget to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. All right, guys. So, Maria, you had quite the trip. It was like an Atlanta road trip for you yesterday as you moved up, down, and around the metro. So we're going to go with you up to Flowery Branch first, although I know that was your last stop of the day. But we're going to go up to Flowery Branch with you first. And we know that, okay, I don't really know how to say this, so I'm just going to say Kirko Chains. Okay, that's close enough. Has become official. What are your expectations? I tried, Jarvis. I tried.
That was fantastic.
I'm just going in my head right now.
I know, right? All right, Maria, I'm just going to swing it to you before this goes off the rails. Tell me what your thoughts were and what your expectations are in year 1 for the veteran QB.
Oh, my thoughts and expectations is that we hear a lot more Kirko Chains phrases from you, Tenitra. But man, I am... Right, exactly. I'm really excited. And I know that there's a lot of differing opinions out there. That's what makes the Falcons fan base so fantastic. But I think it's time to flip the page and get excited about your quarterback. I really do. And he walked in the room yesterday, and everybody knows Kirk's always been good on the mic, right?
Yeah.
But he walked in the room and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so different. This is night and day. And that's no shade on Desmond. Desmond's young. It was hard for him to lead when he's trying to figure things out on his own. Sure. The entire conversation that we had with Kirk was completely night and day. I mean, you look at 12 seasons in the NFL versus 2. I mean, it's very different as a starting quarterback.
Sure.
He's ready to lead. He's excited about being here. Talked about a home away from home. He spent the last 6 off seasons in his in-laws' basement, sleeping in his in-laws' basement here in Georgia. They love this area. His son, Turner, is named after Ted Turner because he was born literally in downtown Atlanta on Turner. So everything about this, I think, is really great. And I think it's exciting. You know, he's coming off the first major surgery of his career, which I think
Yeah.
everyone needs to remember. He's never been hurt before. So
Right.
let's assume that the Achilles is great. He said it is. He said it's, you know, progressing in the way that it should. This feels like a leader. It feels like somebody who can change the trajectory of the offense like that. He talked about all of a sudden he's, you know, texting all these guys and he wants to watch their film individually. He said, I want to watch Drake London and figure out why he is the way that he is and have conversations with him about it. That stuff is different to me. And he talked about elevating his teammates. He's already there. You know what you're going to get in Kirk Cousins. He's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks over the last 12 years. But what's next for him is elevating the guys around him. And Kirk likes the challenge. This offense is challenging. There's a lot of young guys that are very early in their careers, and he's going to try to take that to the next level. I'm excited about it. He didn't shy away from the chain conversation, and he said, you know what? Chains are not funny when you're losing, so we got to win for me to bring them out. And I thought self-awareness was key too. I'm big on that just in life in general. So for him to say that is important, but it feels different. It feels really good. It feels very exciting. And I hope that Falcons fans are excited too.
I think there's a great point that you make there, Maria. Kirk Cousins may not have been your quarterback of choice. Maybe Justin Fields was the guy you wanted in Atlanta, or maybe a few fans may have wanted outside shot at Russell Wilson, or a few fans may have wanted to say, hey, let's just build around a completely young core, right? We've got the core young running back. We've got the core young wide receiver. Let's go get the QB, the franchise QB in the draft. We get that. But Kirk Cousins is here. The deal is done. So let's all reset ourselves and say, okay, Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, Kirk Cousins, what you got? I think that's an excellent point that you make. Let's reset and let's talk about, now that you're here, Jarvis, what are those expectations for you as QB1 because of those 12 years and all that you bring to the table, including just the one, although I know it's big, but just the one major injury? What are you going to do to put this franchise into truly a win now position? Because at this point, I don't know about you, Jarvis, but I don't want anybody talking to me anymore about the NFC South. Talk to me about a bye and getting to the NFC Championship.
Oh man, it's like you speaking my language over there, T. Like that's where I'm at with it, because I mean, I love the whole off the field stuff. That's cool and all. That's good to talk about and joke about. But let's talk some ball. Like when you start, that's the thing that I was very impressed by. He even, to what Maria was talking about, the man said he's going to go back and watch Drake London's senior year in USC.
So cool. I love that.
Every route that he's run since he's been in the NFL.
I like it. Yeah.
And then we're going to sit down and have a conversation about it.
Yep.
That's what you talking about, some doggone leadership. And another thing Maria said I thought was excellent. Like Desmond Ridder was still trying to figure things out. Like in NFL, like you can be a leader. You can have all the leadership qualities you want, but if you can't play, ain't nobody listening. Ain't nobody trying to hear, hey man, well, let's go throw the ball around. Like, man, but you threw 2 picks last game and you lost the game. I don't want to rock with you like that. Like,
and you heard it, Jarvis. You heard it as time went on. Yeah, because you would hear like, and not to call out Grady, Jarrett, and Jarvis, I want you to finish your thought, but you know, I can remember the conversations in the off season. You know, I can remember the conversations at OTAs and during training camp and everything when everybody was, oh, he's our quarterback. That waned so fast because it did not match the commentary. The play did not match the quote unquote rhetoric. So no, Jarvis, you're absolutely right. But continue. It's just when you said that, it immediately jogged my mind. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. You got to show and prove.
For sure. And I think that, you know, even with Jesse Bates, you know, there was a report that he said, hey, let's go. It's time. Yeah. Like, you know, those are some of the things veteran guys get excited about this stuff because they know exactly what they're going to get each and every Sunday. And I know I had my, you know, my
maybe
reservations
about Kirk Cousins. But and mostly it's because of the health piece, right? Never been hurt before.
That's fair.
You get Achilles, like the other Achilles is a little susceptible to, you know, being injured too because of all the rehab being focused on one side of the leg. So I think as long as he stays healthy, I think this is a good spot for the Falcons to be in because we've been dealing with straight up below mid quarterback play for too long right now.
And I think that's a great point because as I have always said, I said it on 92.9, I said it when anybody would listen. and have been saying this for years. When Matthew Ryan leaves the building, you people are going to appreciate what he brought to the table. You're going to appreciate that he is the best Falcon as far as play goes. And actually, as a humanitarian, as a human, he's great too. Yeah. But as a player, you're going to miss the heck out of this dude the minute he leaves Flowery Branch. And I think finally, when you see someone, Maria, like Kirk Cousins, walk through the building and command the presence, and you know he backs it up with his play, it reminds you of the abyss that the Falcons have been in since Matt Ryan left the building.
You know, I got a little bit of deja vu when he walked in. And I remember when I heard that Matt Ryan was getting traded, I was really sad. It was nice to be around a veteran quarterback. And again, that has nothing to do with Desmond Ridder. It has nothing to do with a young quarterback, but being around somebody who is a leader and elevates the team around him in the NFL, it is so different. And you know it when you've been around it. And it's just really refreshing. And yeah, I think we can go back and talk about maybe Justin Fields would have been great. And maybe he would have. I mean, who knows? But what I do know is there would have been growing pains with Justin. I mean, that is a fact. And we don't necessarily know definitively what we would have gotten out of him. Kirk, you do. You've seen it. I mean, he literally has not changed from the time that he played in Washington to now. He is consistent. And I think, injury aside, which I think it's fair to be nervous about, he's going to win you games. I mean, he is going to win you games. How many? I don't know. I think the Falcons still need a couple more pieces for sure. They're trying with the Darnell Mooney acquisition. He hasn't signed yet officially, but this is unique. And I think I'm so happy that you brought up Matt Ryan, because this kind of feels like that in a way that he was a veteran. He was consistent. He was a leader. He elevated the guys around him. And just Desmond didn't command the respect that I think Kirk will automatically. He talked all of a sudden. He's like, I called up my good friend Drew Brees. He's calling up all these veterans, future Hall of Famers. It's younger quarterbacks can't do that. And there is a difference. And I think the younger guys on this team, specifically because there's so many young pieces, are going to benefit so tremendously. And granted, Desmond may get a lot out of this, and I think he will. And I think that that's fantastic. So I'm still really excited. And I think when you're talking about football and you're talking about the postseason, I think you can expect it as a Falcons fan this year. I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Yeah, if the Falcons do retain Desmond Ridder as the backup QB, you're right. He'll get to study under one of the best. And if Kirk Cousins should go down for even a game or so, if they keep Dez, then that could be a better Dez than we saw even last year to come in and maybe be a game manager. But Jarvis, real quick, I know, as Maria mentioned, Darnell Mooney hasn't been officially signed, but I do like the potential for what Darnell Mooney is able to do. I know that maybe we hadn't seen him in his fullness in Chicago, but I also think that's because, we know what Chicago's issues were ad nauseum. And I also think that when you look at the fact that Kirk Cousins is not going to be a statue per se, but he is going to maybe need more pass protection than a scrambler, a nice add to maybe from a blocking perspective is Charlie Warner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When you think about, that's why I say I want people to kind of like slow down on, they're going to be running 11 personnel 99% of the time. Like, calm down. I really feel like they're going to cater their offense, thoughts and ideals and route concepts and all that stuff to what they have right now. Because the first thing that came out of Raheem Morris's mouth was Bijan Robinson, Drake London, you know what I'm saying? Like, Tyler Algier, like, you have a strong running game. This is the strength of the offense, regardless whoever else they bring in as far as the passing game goes. The strength of this offense is the running game. That's where where the money resides on the offensive line, and that's where the draft capital investment is in the running back room. So I think that this is going to be, and Charlie Warner, I think, is a good piece because he's one of the better blocking defensive end, tight end in the NFL. So just pay attention. I really like what I'm seeing right now with Terry Fontenot as far as the vision for this team.
Can I say one thing really, really quick? You made up when you said Kyle Pitts earlier, it just got me thinking. Kyle Pitts texted Kirk a long time ago, recruiting him essentially to the Falcons. If that doesn't tell you that they are hungry for a veteran quarterback, I don't know what does. I thought it was very telling. Yes, exactly. I was like, oh. He was like, I was like, wait, how do you feel if you're Desmond Ridder? And your teammates were low-key texting veteran quarterbacks like, hey, come play for my team.
Look, Maria, that's why I feel like what T said, as far as if they bring him back, I think pay attention to that. I would
Yeah.
not be surprised if Desmond not brought back. I would not be surprised at all, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. And we talked about, and I can't wait to talk about this in the coming weeks too, because we talked about those individuals who will be making their cash, making their money. So O-line, get ready, because Falcons O-line, you're about to earn all your keep. But there's some guys who are trying to earn more money and maybe earn less in Athens on Wednesday. We're going to talk about it. Stay tight, because we're going to talk about it on the other side. This episode of our Atlanta Sports Party is brought to you by Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. Again, this offer is good through April 30th. So get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees do apply. And I want to give you some more information as well. These are claims as of the first quarter of 2024 that have been validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. There are limitations that apply to both IRAs and 401ks. But remember, a 3% match requires that Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of your first 3% match happens. You must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years, and the 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing, and Robinhood Financial LLC is a member of SIPC and is a registered broker-dealer. All right, guys, it went down in Athens on Wednesday. The Dogs had their pro day, and at the top of the food chain, of course, was Brock Bowers. But Brock did not work out yesterday. He cited a hamstring issue. Jarvis, should people get concerned about that for Brock?
I think just from a perception standpoint, probably so. But like at the end of the day, like Kirby even said it himself, if y'all got questions about Brock Bowers, just go look at the tape. Just go look at the tape. This man could have played running back for this school, and that's not just my eyeball saying that. There are people who are scouts that said, hey, the man could have sat back there and played running back. He was even joking about, saying betting some money against Lad McConkey and running and going for a race. And I was just like, wait a minute, hold up. That man ran a 4.39, right? At the combine.
And he said he could be faster than that too. Lad thinks he can be faster than that, which is
crazy. Yeah. So when you think about the type of tight end that we're talking about, this dude is an athletic freak. I hate to use that word all the time when I'm describing a human being, but it applies in this particular situation. But yeah, I'm not too concerned. But it does kind of suck, because the Georgia Pro Day used to be my annual thing, and I haven't been able to go in the past couple of years. So yeah, I just love seeing guys going out there just like with money on the line. Like, man, I got to do it, and then to see those guys go out there and perform like they do, I just love it. It just gives me joy to be able to see guys go out there and do their thing like that.
And Maria, like Jarvis, I haven't been able to get to Pro Day in a couple of years, but you were able to actually do it as part of your tour of Atlanta Metro on Wednesday.
Around the Metro, yes.
You literally
a helicopter. I'm figuring out a helicopter, please.
Right. Check on your friends. Check on Maria. Maria, what are your thoughts on Brock? But also, just looking across that entire space as you did yesterday, who do you feel maybe brought their stock up, and did anyone bring their stock down?
So first Brock, no, I don't think anybody should be concerned. He just tweaked it. Not a big deal. It happens. He just tweaked it in a workout. He and Amarius Mims, who Amarius did some stuff in the weight room, but didn't do anything on the field. They are 2 first-round draft picks this year in my mind. They are going to do a private workout in April. So all will be good. They will invite anybody out who wants to come and watch them, which I have a feeling that many people will come and watch that workout. And again, Jarvis made a really good point. Kirby was asked about Brock Bowers, and he just said, watch the tape. Like, it's literally just that simple with Brock Bowers, and he's a generational tight end, in my opinion. And I know that Kyle Pitts was the highest drafted tight end ever, but Brock is really good.
Yeah,
Brock is really good. And then I don't think anyone's stock went down. I do think it was a really anticlimactic pro day for Georgia, just because a lot of the kids did work out in Indianapolis.
Yes.
So, and there wasn't, there's not a quarterback. There will be next year. But I think that if anybody's stock went up, it'd be Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter, I think, is one of the best players in the draft. He's very versatile. I don't necessarily believe he'll go in the first round, just because of some other needs that are probably going to go in the first round. It's a heavy tackle class, a heavy receiver class, quarterbacks, etc. But Kamari's very good. He's undersized, but I think that showing what he did yesterday shows his versatility at pro day. And that's important. And I think that's how Kirby prides all of his guys on first, second, third round picks, is because every single person in his system can play different roles on the field. You talked about it a little bit, Jarvis, but that's what makes these Georgia kids so good. And once they get to the next level, they can slide over to a couple different things. And that's so valuable in the NFL. So yeah, I don't think anyone's stock went down. Again, very anticlimactic pro day for Georgia, but I think everyone is in a good position right now. And hopefully maybe Ladd McConkey sneaks into a late first round pick. He's a lot better than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
And even though this receiver class is so stacked this year, guys, and there's so much good talent, I think that Ladd is better than some of the ones that'll get picked ahead of him. Who knows? Maybe he's around in the second round and the Falcons could be aggressive and go get him. That'd be a dream.
Yeah, I think you make a good point with the whole Lassiter thing. There was just a little something that probably could have potentially brought Lassiter's stock down. Somebody, I think it was Dane Brookley, had tweeted out that he had around a 4.6, and that's a number.
There was discrepancies in his times, by the way.
Right.
There was a lot of people were getting the numbers wrong. He looked quick to me. He looked like he was moving to me, but I think that everyone was reporting different numbers, so I don't really know exactly what the numbers were.
There was a Phil Yates ended up tweeting out that he said 4 NFL scouts said 4.5, 4.51, which is
he's
solid
great.
because he's just under 6 feet and he plays big too. Kamari Lassiter plays like a big corner.
For sure.
And when you think about that aspect of it, and for him to not go out there and run the 4.4, because we joked about it on the Bulldog party.
Like, I was just gonna say that. Yep, don't run too fast.
Yeah, 4.5 is good. That's solid.
So the Falcons can go creep up and get him.
Slow it down, boys. Slow it down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wind on down. Like I told the Hawks to wind down. I need Kamari Lassiter. Wind on down. Just a little bit, brother. So hey, get there that second round, because he would be excellent. Because like I've always said this, and I continue to say it, I'm tired of spinning the wheel on corners opposite AJ Terrell. Like, let's get somebody in here that's young. We know he can play, and let him develop and let him work over there. And I think Kamari Lassiter would be a perfect guy to slide in on the opposite side there.
Have you guys seen the pictures of Amarius Mims with Brock Bowers standing next to him?
Nah,
go look at that. Like, Amarius Mims is not a real person. I saw this.
Right. Like, he's not human.
People should not be allowed to be this big. Like, Brock is a huge person, and then there's the pictures of the pictures of Amarius standing right next to him, and I'm like, why is this allowed? This is so terrifying. But he's also a great kid, so I'm excited for him. He's going to be awesome in the NFL.
Yeah, Mims is definitely a guaranteed first round. I'll put some money on that one. He's
Indeed. Well, it's always good to hear that the stock either stayed the same or rose for a few folks coming out of Athens. And hey, your stock will rise every time you actually stop in to watch the Atlanta Sports Party. The Locked On Sports Atlanta YouTube channel is streaming now live 24/7. It's all things Atlanta sports 24/7. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, we are also free and available wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you on the Atlanta Football Party Monday.